This video was brought to you by the Grim Wrangler Foundation. Video games are, by nature, structured. Game designers create mechanics and intended gameplay for players to mess around with, but the problem with intended design is that things can break. It's almost a challenge to break past the intended experience of a game, whether it's speedrunning or taking the pacifist route in World of Warcraft. We call this concept queer gaming, based on an essay written by Edmund Cheng of the same name. Cheng defines it as a challenge to normative structures, narratives, and technologies, a wholly different kind of adventure. Essentially, queer gaming is a form of play that counters mainstream normative video game tropes to create a more fulfilling personal experience.
However, not only can games be played queer, certain games can be crafted with queerness in mind. No game better exemplifies this than the Stanley Parable. Let's give a brief history of the game. The year is 2011. Davey Redden released their free Half-Life 2 mod known as the Stanley Parable. Following the modded title's success, Redden along with William Pugh formed their company Galactic Cafe and sought to flesh out the original creative vision with a full remake. Development continued for 2 years until finally, the Stanley Parable was released on Steam in 2013. It was a hit. Critics raved over it. Gamers dissected the game's intricate design, and YouTubers, well, they did their thing.
This is so cool!
What?
This game is so cool!
Stanley,
Do you want to?
what the hell is the deal with your fucking parable, brah?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, let me put myself in Stanley mode.
What makes the Stanley Parable unusual, though, is its use of queer design in the way it explores player choice, which the game itself even acknowledges. If you happen to climb this desk and figure out you can try to go out of bounds.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along.
Or if you try to enable server cheats, the narrator sits you down for a talk like your father.
Stanley, this is me being serious. In fact, this is my serious room. It's where I come to be serious. That table is the most serious table I could find.
Or if you outmaneuver this door and not get trapped behind it, you can actually backtrack and uncover a completely hidden ending, albeit a rather vague one. Needless to say, whenever the player tries to break the game, the Stanley Parable is always one step ahead. Part of the reason the game developers can account for all this is because the game's mechanics are quite simple. It's a walking simulator. You walk, open doors, and interact with the environment. Also, we're legally obligated to analyze this game through the MGE framework of mechanics, gameplay, and player experience. So, with that in mind, the Stanley Parable's gameplay is essentially listening to the narrator, exploring the level, finding endings. Then, the player experience is the fun derived from exploring everything the game has to offer, enjoying the narrator's witty commentary and humor, and the uneasiness from liminal environments. The game's unique structure allowed the developers to sprinkle in queer design in every nook and cranny that subverts traditional game design. The game, in a sense, has broken itself. So, how do you further break an already broken game? Okay, let's try speedrunning the game. It's the perfect example of non-normative play. The devs will never expect what the fuck is that? Okay, so how about we jump into this railing and nope, that's an ending. We're in Minecraft now. Let's Let's try hitting every button in the heaven ending. Not very fun though. Well, if we can't find a way to break the game on its own, let's try modding and going outside the game itself. Here's a mod that extends the escape pod ending, so now you can see where Stanley ends up, and it's even narrated by the official narrator. Very cool. Also, there's this achievement called Unachievable that is not actually unachievable. You see, the devs would constantly change the achievement criteria, so there was no reliable way to unlock it. But the community has worked together to reverse engineer the game's source code to find a 100% confirmed way to unlock the achievement. The only problem is that it went against the devs' intentions. One dev publicly hated it, but hey, gamers gotta get their achievements. It's not much, but these were the only real ways we could find to break the game in the ways that the developers did not intend. However, it's hard to say we feel like rule breakers. The Stanley Parable's queer design actively encourages players to break the game, so going one step beyond means that we're, at the very least, following in the footsteps of what the devs intended. Davey Reedon has even said, "I want players to feel like they've been playing for hours and seen nothing." Brendan wants a sense of endless fun and exploration, so when players go outside the game itself to further create this sense of endless fun themselves, it's, in our opinion, what the devs intended, and it's how every player should experience the Stanley Parable. Queer design breeds a feeling of endless possibilities and self-expression, and appropriately, the Stanley Parable mantra reads, "The end is never the end." We hope you enjoyed watching, and we recommend everyone pick up the Stanley Parable and try to break the broken game yourself. Maybe you'll find something we didn't, or play the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe when that comes out in like 50 goddamn years.
Oh, wait. What's this? Early 2022? Why, that's fantastic to hear. I'm so excited.
This video was brought to you by the Grim Wrangler Foundation. Video games are, by